So I want to introduce Martin Grohman. Martin is a serial entrepreneur who I met many years ago, and I won't give away our ages, but Martin's been doing this for a fair amount of time. And literally, in my earlier career, I had met up with Martin in what he was doing here in the state. It was one of the most innovative businesses at the time, and quite frankly, I think it still is. He's the host of the Grow Maine Podcast, where he explores innovation with Maine entrepreneurs and doing some incredible things here. He currently is the executive director of the Environmental and Energy Technology Council of Maine. It's known more formally as the E2 Tech organization, and it's exists to expand Maine's environmental, energy, and clean technology sectors. Martin's also the founder of Connect Building Products, LLC, which we're going to run a quick video in a few minutes. By trade, he's a chemical engineer from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. So good afternoon, Martin. I'm just going to introduce you to the folks here. How are you?
Hey, Mike. Good to see you. Welcome to my basement in Bedford.
Great
my
to see
state of Maine flag. I've got my Sea Dogs bobbleheads. I don't know if you can see Kevin Millar over there or something like that. But anyway, yes, thanks for having me on. What a great, interesting discussion. Thanks for giving me a chance to contribute to it.
Yeah, we're going to have you speak in a second, Martin, but I'd like to just roll a video that we found, and I think it really emphasizes the effort that you've gone through in the part of your career of helping Maine entrepreneurship. And I'm going to add Chad to see if we can have that in the queue and roll it. So we're going to go. So hold on.
I think at one point I had 13 voicemails on my phone and they were all no. It's not easy to start a manufacturing company anywhere, let alone Maine, but I stuck to it and I found people that believed in what I was trying to do. And just see that first board flip down onto the unit and pop down in there into the strapping machine. That was when I knew we could do it. I believe in the people of Maine and how hardworking they are. I would go in after, a foot and a half of snow would fall, on a Sunday morning shift, and everybody would be there like it was normal. The people are just incredible. And they'll do whatever it takes. They're not looking for anything other than an honest paycheck for a solid day's work. But if you provide that and treat them fairly, I mean, there's nothing like it in the world. We made enough decking to go around the world 5,000 times. We sold it in 137 countries all over the world. We built something innovative and amazing. And a lot of big companies started calling and said, hey, we want to buy your innovative, amazing thing. And we want to close it and move it to Cleveland. And I said, no, that would have been a payday for me, but all the jobs would have been gone and the factory would have been closed. The building that I bought to build this company was a manufacturing plant that closed and moved to China. As we were moving in, they were taking the parts, cutting them up with torches and selling it for scrap metal. It was everything that I didn't want to see happen. So it didn't matter to me how many zeros they put on the check. It just wasn't there to do that.
Things were going great with the company, and then 2008 hit.
I'd say that when the bank called me and said, look, we're in trouble. And because of that, you're in trouble too. That was pretty tough. We were under a lot of stress. I mean, we were in trouble. I really, really had to pull a rabbit out of a hat if I just wanted to get my money out of this business and just have a personal paycheck and just call it good and send everybody home into the teeth of financial crisis with no job. I could just sell the machines for scrap metal like the people that I bought the building from and just say, forget it. And I was just not going to do that. There was one company that was interested in buying us, and I knew that they were an honest player and they wanted to keep the jobs in Maine, but they were going through the financial crisis too. So we had to figure something out. And so I just called them up and I said, look, what's it going to take? How can we make this work? My priority is to save this plant, save the people that work here. I don't need to get anything out of this. Just let's just figure out a way.
It was very important for Marty that people kept their jobs, the plant kept running. If that meant that he had to take a personal hit or swallow his pride, that was worth it to him.
It means a lot because during the last, say, 10 years or so after the Great Recession, it's been hard for businesses to stay open. When you have someone like Marty do what he had to do in order to keep people at work, not only does it benefit the city of Biddeford and the individual workers, but it also says a lot about the integrity of the individual too, because he did his utmost to keep the business open. He did what he had to do.
And you could go to that factory today. You can buy Duralife decking today, and just the name on the paycheck changed. The machines never shut down. That's the thing that I'm proud of.
Marty, thank you so much. The viewers got a chance to see your early efforts in entrepreneurship, and honestly, just having watched it while I had worked in another position at the state, it was amazing to see your story just really unfold. And I know it went very quickly from concept to really national significance in a very quick period of time. From where I stood, it looked like it was meteoric. From yours, it may be a little bit different, but just real quickly, based on that video, we get an understanding and an insight into why you did what you did. And just to thank you, I know at the time, and I'm put this in context, it was just a few years ago, right? But in context, that was before people were bringing manufacturing back to Maine. You were definitely going against that tide. And at the time, it was exceedingly difficult in some cases to do Maine here because of a high taxation situation then, and also on a high workman's compensation costs. And you seemed like you were going against that grain. And so how'd you come up with that idea? And how'd you know that it might take off the way that it did?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for the nice comments. I think I was mostly young and stupid, but I grew up in Western Maine in a little town called Carthage, and if you've been climb Tumbledown, it's close to there. And I went away to RPI, as you mentioned, and I worked for a machinery manufacturer called Cincinnati Millicron, and I developed the expertise of making this composite decking there. And I knew that Maine would be a good opportunity for it. And I think that products within Maine that can really serve a high value niche tend to do well, benefit from the reputation of Maine, the loyalty of Maine customers. And so we were blessed. We had a lot of things going our direction. And you're right. We really grew quickly those first 4 or 5 years. And I think I sort of got an MBA on the fly.
I bet you did. It's interesting having a little bit of a background in a large startup myself. And I always thought to myself, and people had asked what it felt like, and maybe you can relate, but I said, it's like sitting on the tip of a rocket every day.
Yeah. I miss it. I mean, I make reference to that in the video. I think at the peak when I was managing, we had about 75 people. I think there's nothing more rewarding than stopping by the plant and seeing everything humming and everything going well. At the same time, it seemed like about every 3 weeks, one or maybe two of the wheels would fall completely off the cart. Making a product out of sawdust has got its own set of challenges. It is literally an industrial waste that comes from, the manufacture of dowels, or, now with COVID, you hear a lot about the swabs and stuff, making a round tree into square pieces that get made into those. It makes a lot of sawdust, but it's also a pretty variable material. So that really threw us a lot of curveballs. I made, I guess, most of the mistakes along the way, but I was very blessed. And I think there's been mention of the Maine Technology Institute. We received in June of 2000, what I think was the first commercialization award ever to come out of MTI. And so that was really great. And actually, at the time I was writing the business plan, the initial referendum that formed MTI was passing with the Maine voters. And I frankly wasn't really tracking that. So that's been sort of the impetus of the podcast to bring it to that. Is I wanted to find a way to kind of give back. And because, so many institutions and people around Maine had been supportive of me and, what we were able to put together.
If you could, Marty, I've been on your site many times, and I've just been incredibly just blown away at the level of expertise and just really influence of the people that you've had on your podcast. Could you just tell us a little bit about that, a little bit more?
I started podcasting in 2013. I've always been actually taking it back to the Duralife decking business. I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, I got very burned out. I actually hated going to work at my own company there for a little while. I just took on too much, and I didn't create a good sort of decision-making flow within the company, and really just was burned out. And I started listening to a podcast that I still really recommend called Manager Tools. And that was when you had the little MP3 player that, you could strap to your arm or put in your pocket, and dragged, from your file explorer an episode over to that and disconnected it. And I, among many things that I did that a CEO shouldn't do, is I plowed our own parking lot. And you saw that building. I bought an F-350 and I would plow that, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And I just listened to that podcast to kind of keep me going. And it really, I found it really motivating, and it kind of helped me retool my management style and develop sort of a flow of the managers around me, and when I could and could not be kind of approached and engaged in a productive way. And so I got hooked on podcasting. And a funny thing is that I started mine right around the same time as another Maine entrepreneur, John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur on Fire, where he has had immense success. I think has made tens of millions of dollars at this point. So mine has always been a hobby. I just published the 149th episode, but it's really meant to celebrate Maine entrepreneurs. I've never had a sponsor other than the Maine Technology Institute. And I've actually never made any money on it. I never wanted to, but I hope people will find it as a resource. And if I can help entrepreneurs get the word out, I love doing that. I've developed a lot of ties with a couple of local radio stations, and I can often find, audio opportunities for you to tell your story.
Interestingly enough, I started listening to John way back when. Had chatted with him. I knew what he was up to, and I will say I've listened to almost every one of yours and his episodes. I would put you right in there, Marty. I think just the quality of the production and the speakers is just unequaled. So please continue what you're doing. Real. If you could make the plug for that, where would they physically be able to find you again?
Oh yeah. Just go to your pull up the old phone and Apple Podcasts, the Grow Maine Show. Just go to growmaineshow.com, Spotify, and basically wherever you get your podcasts, Stitcher and so on, and SoundCloud. Yeah, it's been podcasting is such an incredible opportunity, obviously, and lots of people taking advantage of it now. And I encourage, you and your marketing strategy to look for opportunities to guest. I try to do that myself, and it's a good way to reach people. So yeah, growmaineshow.com, please give it a listen, and give me a 5-star rating. That helps out, and it helps MTI.
Sounds great. You're obviously a serial entrepreneur, and I kind of chuckled when you were talking about plowing the driveway, Marty. I think as Mainers, the Dirigo or Dirigo, I think the idea of what makes us great entrepreneurs, it also has us create a large burden on our own shoulders. So it's one of those characteristics where I think as Mainers, we're going to make it happen no matter what. And maybe we just try to make too much happen. And with that said, what do you interview and interact with a lot of entrepreneurs, and what do you see that they need the most?
It's funny. I in preparing for this, I have this is also funny. This is my list of Grow Maine Show questions. I don't know if you could see what a scribbled mess that is, but I've been using that for many years. I think focus is big for a lot of entrepreneurs, including me, right? niche till it hurts. That's one thing that I think is important for us. You often hear think bigger in Maine. I don't know if that's true or not. We've got some great entrepreneurs that are thinking big now. I like to ask people, did anyone tell you that you can't do this? That often gets a good response. And I think we all sort of need something to motivate us a little bit. And frankly, having a little competition is good. And those are the big things. Beyond that, I think that we often say here in Maine, right, that I ask entrepreneurs, who is listening to the show right now that should be calling you to buy your product? And just have a really good answer to that. Be ready to make that pitch. I was kind of famous to an eye roll point of, I would carry a piece of the decking in my suit pocket. And if you stopped more than 5 seconds, I would start pitching you on it. So I think these things get sold one at a time. I think the saying is sales cures all ills, and you need to operate a good business, but to have that pull and to get things to that minimum viable product and just, start selling it. I think those are important thoughts too.
What would you see as the most common misconceptions or mistakes that an entrepreneur might make from your history of working with them along the way?
I think that, I made most of the mistakes. So I can recognize them. I think taking on too much individually or personally is a very common one. You can lead by example and, plow the lot or the driveway or clean the bathrooms, but you really need to carve out your own space to lead. I think that many entrepreneurs, including me, are not slow to hire and fast to fire like they should be. And that's something that I learned along the way. And getting that low performing member off your team is the best thing that you can do. And do it. Just rip off the Band-Aid. The rest of your team already knows, and they see it, and they wonder why you don't see it, and it makes you look bad. So if you've got somebody who's phoning it in and it's just not a fit for them, these things happen. Take care of that situation. I think that's really important too, and it goes for your customers as well. I think that you want to have those right partnerships with your customers. And I suffered, frankly, from working for many years with a customer who didn't respect our business in the way that they should have. And frankly, after I sold the business, the new buyer immediately got rid of them. And it was such a good idea. And so I think that also applies to customers too. I think just making those tough calls, I think it's super important.
There's very few entrepreneurs who've come up with that own idea, Marty, and has scaled it as quickly and as significantly as you did. And that's difficult because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they start out maybe with a lifestyle concept, as it were, and then they get as big as they kind of believe that they can. How'd you make that pivot? I mean, obviously from an academic background, you're a very accomplished scientist in chemical engineering. And how'd you make that move from like technician to, in effect, really the CEO and monitoring those systems? And how did you do it? And if you believe that you might have made some mistakes along the way, what were the telltale signs, and what advice would you give to others that are going to get to that point somewhat sooner than later?
Thank you for saying that, Mike. I think that I don't know. I had a certain drive to create something big. I grew up on a farm, and I think I always got a little bit, I was one of 8 kids, and the other brothers and sisters would make fun of me a little bit for, he always wants to do what they might sort of say the I work or the bigger things, and I think I just had that intention or drive to do so. But I don't think the other approach is wrong. I don't. I've come to pivot around that, or I have a different feeling about it. And I think something that always makes me laugh is that we started a little bit after Stonewall Kitchen, 4 to 5 years after them. But we were in Biddeford, there in York, kind of close by. And I used to sort of joke, I want to start this big manufacturing company. I don't want to start a, a jam and jelly shop, but I look at them, they're, multiples of times more successful than we were. So I think, whatever, to each his own, honestly. I mean, I did have a big dream to start something big, and it has sort of come to fruition. I think it probably would have come to fruition more, though, if I'd stepped out of the way sooner, to be frank. I think the entrepreneur that, classically people talk about, say, Fred Smith at FedEx or something, is very rare that can make that transition. And if I started another business, I don't think I would. I think I would go 3 or 4 years in and then pass it off to a skilled operator. I frankly think in retrospect, that probably, I remember one of my board members, let me take it this way. Listen, I would say that's something that I always test my guests on the Grow Maine show is I'm kind of looking for that coachability, and I'm not sure that I had it. In fact, I know I didn't have it. I had a board member tell me, you should take a sabbatical, take 6 months, take 3 months, whatever it is, and just get some perspective on this business. And I was like, I'm too busy. I have too many things going on. All this is so important. And, I can't make decisions, and I don't know which way is up. And then of course I should have listened to him. And I think it would have also let my people prove what they could do, that they could plow the lot and stuff like that. So I think those are big things, really. Just be coachable. We've obviously got here today so many good resources to help you in your direction. And I really work now with a lot of entrepreneurs that are super coachable. I almost feel like the culture around that has changed in a really good way. And maybe, I probably just need to be slapped across the head back then, but I see much less of that than I used to.
I think the models of entrepreneurship are so much different now, Marty, and I'm excited for the newer generation. I think they've got it right. Did you get any sort of piece of advice that you held really closely when you started a business that turned out to just be invaluable, or along the way when you learned some hard lessons? What would that parting piece be to somebody when they start?
I think. I want to make sure to mention sustainability in your business. I mean environmental sustainability. I think that customers respond to that. It's meaningful to them. And that's part of what we do at E2 Tech. We are a group of businesses that are focused on environmental sustainability. That is a customer driver that if you will really walk the talk on that, it's incredibly meaningful to your customers. And speaking of customers, I think a behind the scenes reason that I was so successful was I haunted the sort of online forums and the feedback, and I understood the sort of customer experience. I knew why they were frustrated with the composite decking product that they had now. We made an initial leap where we combined the sustainability story with a product that was actually beautiful and nice to look at too. And then I worked really extensively with contractors to get sort of their feedback about installation. When I got away from that, I got in trouble. So I think just to have that customer experience and be part of that as the CEO, without treading on your people's feet, but understanding what your customer's going through. Don't lose hold of that, and don't lose hold of your confidence in that. If you're sure about something, I'll give you a classic example. This pains me every day. We had a website at the time, correctdeck.com, and we were really big and leaders on that. And then I wanted to do a website. I wanted to do greatdecking.com, or in the brand. By that time, we had these high-powered marketing consultants, and they said, "Don't do that. You want to dilute your brand." And of course now, everybody's got kind of a website that is easy to remember that would lead you to the brand. And it just is kind of emblematic of, I think I was on the forefront of that trend. I understood it. I knew what the customers would respond to and understand. And I let go of it. I let the expensive sort of people who are running an old playbook overrule me. And I regret that. So keep your confidence. That's my closing message.
Yeah, and I think, Marty, you're a testament of doing good can mean also doing well. And as a Mainer, I really will tell you this. I just really appreciate you struggling and fighting to keep those jobs in Maine, because they're not easy to come by, and they really are not easy to create. And I just think that speaks volumes of who you are. And I just want to thank you for doing that, but also just for being available as a successful entrepreneur who's seen this and being able to give back. Not as many of them do, and I wish more would. So I do appreciate you being in the trenches with us and our partners as well every day. So again, Marty, thank you so much for taking your time and for sharing your insight to the folks here at Converge and Create. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I'm just Marty, MERTY at e2tech.org. So Marty at e2tech.org. If I can help you do something and get away from those evenings and weekends and drive you to success, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, we're going to put your information on our post-event website, Marty. But thank you so much again for joining us. Take care.
Yep. Have a great day. Happy Friday.
Thank you very much.